And we should be live. All right. Hello, guys. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome to Crystallize first live webinar, per se. Thank you for joining. I'm here today along with Håkon Crow, if I pronounce that correctly.
Yes.
And Mr. Luis Alvarez, or Señor Luis Alvarez. Thanks for joining us. So Håkon is from Crystallize, and Luis is from Vercel. And today we, as the title says itself, we'll be discussing a little bit about JAMstack and how we can launch a web shop, basically an e-shop on Vercel, formerly known as Zite. So thank you both guys for joining and sharing some knowledge with everyone. Let's start off with let's say an introduction on JAMstack, what that is. Luis, if you would like to explain, get some guys on track. Guys are not familiar with it, perhaps.
Yeah, sure. So JAMstack is kind of like a weird name to me, because what JAMstack basically wants you to do is to go back to the old days where we were always sending static HTML and some JavaScript to the client.
Yeah.
It's like in the PHP days, kind of like that, right? And so what happens is that as new technologies were coming out, like React, like Angular, and all of these new things, we started sending a lot of JS and forgot about the markup that is the HTML. And instead, we started doing stuff like, you know what, let's just send all this JS and let the JS handle the markup, which is a great mistake. And that is what the JAMstack is trying to fix. And also, we are trying to fix with the JAMstack to not let the server create the HTML on request, something that we call server-side rendering, but actually just always have static websites. And then we have Next.js, which is a framework for basically any kind of applications, not only JAMstack, but we have an incredible focus on JAMstack right now, just because in our eyes it is faster and better.
Yeah, I guess that sums it up pretty well.
So yeah, performance needs, I guess, drive the tech.
Mm-hmm.
So I know Håkon. We've been working together for quite some time. For those of you that don't know, Håkon is quite the experienced guy when it comes to building websites, and especially e-commerce. So, and of course, he's a huge fan of Next.js. Since when I remember a couple of years back, he was like, "Oh, check this out, Zite back then." So he really liked the framework, and of course, I trust Håkon with his insight when it comes to tech. So would you like to give us like some insights? Why do you like it? What's apart from what Luis explained, of course, and why is that stack really important when it comes to e-commerce and website in general?
Right. Yeah. So it's right way to say, I've been doing e-commerce websites for my entire professional career. It's essentially all I know. And Next.js came out of nowhere as a perfect solution to make server-side rendered React work like that. And the sort of the whole concept of rendering React on a server was just really powerful for composing UIs. And if you really want to make a good e-commerce solution that sort of stands out, which means you don't want to use the standard WordPress with WooCommerce or Magento or Shopify. Like if you want to make your own tailor-made one, then you have to compose the UI yourself. React is in my opinion, the best tool you have to compose UIs. So I just loved it when Next.js came out, and the recent shift to JAMstack has been really cool, because now we sort of take out the one thing that I had against sort of my one, the only sort of bad thing about doing React on the server is that it takes a while to do. Just booting up Node locally on your machine takes at least 30 or 300 milliseconds or 500 milliseconds. And it's just, you don't want to pay that price when you have customers in demand. So JAMstack solves that problem by, making sure that you build your entire website up front and then just serves HTML to the customer. So all of a sudden, you're getting incredible performance. So the difference kind of like between an e-commerce website and a different, like, it could be like a forum, like a chat room thing. It could be any other website, is that you have a different kind, like a flavor of users. So they are usually looking for something like a product. They might be really goal-oriented. They might just, be in there to see what you might have, just, for inspiration. But at least they are not keen to wait. So they will not tolerate that it takes a while to load the page, because your web shop might not be different from other web shop that sells the same thing. So you need to stand out in some way or another. And if you're slow, a lot of users will just try to enter your website and then leave if it's not fast enough. So what sort of makes Next.js and JAMstack and everything sort of fit into this thing is, like, performance is top one priority. It needs to be super, super fast. And having the JAMstack strategy for building as a foundation, it's just really solid. The second thing is scalability. It's hard to scale out server-side rendered React or any server-side rendered thing, at least if you want to go global. So doing a static JAMstack strategy is a lot easier to scale out. Serving static assets on CDNs is something that we've been doing for years, and it works really good. And the third thing is for web shops. This not just for web shops, for everybody, but it's like the fail on build, not runtime. If you have a bug in your code, and we all do, right? No one makes perfect code. We do have things that fail from time to time.
I do. No, okay.
Well, we all do. I do as well. And just having that security, just knowing that when a bug comes, right? When you have something that fails, it fails on build time, not on runtime, which means your customers are never going to see this error, and you have time to fix it in your toolchain before it even reaches the customer. So this is an awesome thing. Yeah.
Nice. So of course, I think the most important thing here, actually, there are all three of the things you mentioned are super important, I guess. But we in Crystallize, we stand a lot on the pillar that's called performance, since you need to stand out, like you mentioned, and you need to compete with guys that have this performance and speed overall. So yeah, for sure. Next thing I want to ask, actually, is Luis, that of course is like, he's in the team, Next.js team. He's been working there. He's seen, say, a few more applications of using Next.js in different projects. What would you like to add here? Maybe what is it that people are finding extremely useful in different JAMstack websites or web shops, or what have you, basically?
I would say the most useful thing
like
that people
and stuff like that, maybe,
is the most useful thing I see for people is, first, it is very fast, and second, when you use it with a platform like Vercel or just a platform that has like an edge network where you can distribute the static files to multiple servers all over the world, you always get the fastest experience for any any one of your users, no matter where they are, because they always get to the closest edge. And the other thing I also love about static assets is that even if your DB goes down, or like your entire backend goes down, you still have like the static files, and so at least your users are always going to see a page, right? No matter if your DB goes down, because you generate all of that at build time. So yeah, that's great. Mm-hmm. And also you're always developing with React,
which you all love.
Yeah,
for sure. So it's exactly as Håkon mentioned as well. It's this ability to go global, basically, and having that. We were discussing a bit earlier before, let's say, the meeting goes live, and he was like, he was really liking the fact that you can like that go scale globally, basically. It's super easy, super fast. So say, for example, Håkon is sharing his screen here, which is basically the boilerplate that Crystallize has built, an open source boilerplate. And this is built on Vercel, Next.js. And basically, Håkon, you can go around, show us a little bit.
Sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I guess also we could talk a bit about, I mean, yeah, we could showcase our boilerplate to get you started. But so if you want to make an e-commerce today and you want to make it from scratch, like you want to make it tailor-made for users, you have a bunch of different options. So in Crystallize, we are one of those options that you have. You can sign up for our service to get a headless e-commerce platform. We call it a PIM. Essentially, it's a place where you can manage all your products, but also enrich that products and your entire e-commerce with rich content like images, videos, text, and a whole different section of different things you can add. So but it doesn't sort of our product ends with the API. We expose a GraphQL API. Which we carefully designed so it's easy to use for developers. And we made it really fast. So whatever you're going to build on top of Crystallize, it's going to be fast, which includes like a CDN for asset delivery, for instance. So the boilerplate that we made on the side of this uses Crystallize API to, create a very lightweight, simple e-commerce that showcases some products, an example essentially of how to get started with an e-commerce if you want to make it yourself, like if you want to tailor make it. So I assume that you guys can see the screen that I'm sharing.
Yes.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah. So I guess I'm running it locally, but I could also do a super fast shop. We deployed this on Vercel just today. So you can all, like everyone who's and anyone who's joining in today, check out the URL and test out how this would perform. It's furniture that's super fast at shop. It's just a bare bone boilerplate using a fairly simple Crystallize account that we set up. So this, shows a front page. You got a product page, simple basket. You got a checkout, like all those bare bone things you would expect from an e-commerce. And the only difference from any sort of other, pre-built system is that you can customize anything here. This is just like a getting started point. Comes with a bunch of different React components, but you can obviously tweak and do whatever you would like with them. So, and this is the whole idea. I mean, if you want to tailor make an e-commerce to fit your customer's need, I mean, assuming you know something about who's going to be your customers, then you definitely, this is a very, very good starting point because it's all in your own hands.
So yeah, of course, you can since it's like basically an Next.js application, you tweak it or change it or iterate over it to match what you want, basically, right? So
yeah, and this is so the furniture super fast shop deployment is deployed using the pure JAMstack terminology. So every page is statically built. There isn't a bunch of serverless functions to deal with stuff that doesn't have to be or cannot be statically built. And that's like the API functions. So for instance, for validating prices when you buy stuff, when you want to go to, I don't know, pay, right, with your credit card and stuff like that, obviously you need an API on the side, which makes Next.js like an obvious choice for this kind of framework. Not sure if we have the credentials set up for Stripe here on this boilerplate. But anyways, so the whole where was I going with this? Yeah, okay, so yeah, JAMstack. So because it's statically built, it's fast, but we're leveraging one of the upcoming features of Vercel. It's currently behind an unstable flag in Next.js, but it's the incremental static builds. So whenever you change something in Crystallize, we go Next.js and Vercel, like this combo will actually run the functions in order to rebuild your page and rebuild those static HTML and JSON files on the fly for you. So you don't have to run an entire pipeline where you build the entire shop once more. Let's see if we can get that working. But because that demonstrates the whole beautiful thing. So the fast, yeah, the whole site is really, really fast to begin with. I can see if I can change something, and I'm going to show you a bit of the UI for Crystallize as well. I'm just going to log in on the side here. You don't have to watch that.
We are getting a couple of questions on that, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Håkon.
Yeah.
So I get a couple of guys asking here. They're referencing Gatsby. What can you mention, like a little bit what the difference would be in building that in Gatsby, for example, so that they could understand it a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you could do this with Gatsby too. It's obviously the same strategy here. The difference between Gatsby and Next.js in this scenario is that Next.js also comes with the set of server-side tools that that you always need in an e-commerce. So Gatsby is purely static builds, at least last time I checked. Correct me if I'm wrong. And we do have a boilerplate for getting started with Gatsby too. But the beautiful thing,
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so the wonderful thing with Next.js is that you can have it service and act like a hybrid solution. So parts of your application is statically built, and parts are not. So parts are server-side rendered. Am I getting that right, Luis?
Yes, you're right. Next.js is always hybrid. It had to be the best out there written.
Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. So let me see if I can demonstrate the awesomeness of incremental static builds, which I really, really love. Let's see if I can get that. Do I have? Okay, so this page here, pure HTML, pure JSON. So if I want to change like the price of this chair, let me see if I can get that working. So I'm not going to explain the UI and inside of Crystallize PIM. There's no time for that. So just bear with me. I'm just going to change the price of a product. It's on sale now, so it's $199. There we go. So looking at this page now, if I were to rebuild the entire thing, that would take minutes. And instead, what we can do, we can refresh the page, which will trigger a background rebuild of the entire thing. Not the entire thing, my bad. The front page only. And we'll push that back to the edge cache. And then serve, if I refresh again, there we go. We've got our new updated price. And now this is served from HTML and JSON. So I don't know, Luis, what's the status is with the incremental static builds. Do you have some insights for us on that?
So it is quite stable right now. The only thing we're doing is we're still testing it out and at multiple companies. Vercel is one of those. And also we are preparing a new release where we're going to be releasing it to the stable release of Next.js, and that's going to be soon because that feature is by itself ready, but we also want to chip some other very good stuff. In the future, this is going to be even easier because we're going to be shipping some webhooks, so you might want to trigger this revalidation as soon as you add a change. So we're going to add that too, and also if you just want to revalidate some other pages, not only this one, that's going to happen too. Yeah, sure.
Cool. Yeah, I'm really eager for this feature to be in. I mean, I love static builds because of the performance and reliability and all that, but having the incremental static builds is even nicer from a content editor perspective. I know when people are editing products or content, they're really eager to see the changes live, and they don't want to hear an argument from the tech department that that we're going to run all our CI pipelines now, so just wait. Right. So yeah. What do you think, Stavros? Should we move on to showing a bit of the boilerplate, or?
Yeah, for sure. So we had a couple of questions regarding how rebuilding the whole thing would work, but we got that covered, I guess. Yeah, let's show a little bit around how people could tweak it and tweak and play it a little bit. Give them some insight. Maybe they want to ask some questions while we're at it. So guys, if you want to go ahead and send a question in the chat, so that Håkon maybe gives you some insight regarding how you could tweak and play around a little bit with the boilerplate.
Yeah. Okay, so I can quickly show you how to get started. So what you do, assuming you have Node installed in npm. I'm just saying, I mean, not everyone does. Yeah. So that's your first step. Get Node, and then you will probably have npm as well. So if you have that, you're good to go. Version 10 plus is what we do, and then you go npx at Crystallize CLI. This is a helper for getting you started, and you name your project something. So my e-commerce or something. So this will just ask you a few questions, like a good handful of questions, and then just clone the repository that we made for either Gatsby or Next.js, depending on what you say. Let's just go through. I'm just going to select we have a bunch of template shops set up. You don't have to set up your own sort of tenant in Crystallize. So I'm going to select one that has a lot of demo data. I'm going to go with the Next.js version. Then you can see here, you can also select our Gatsby version if you want to see how that works. But typically for an e-commerce, you would like that hybrid solution. So most people would go with Next.js in this case. But sometimes maybe you don't want to make an e-commerce. Maybe it's something else. Okay. Anyways, let's add some payment methods. SendGrid. We can add some Stripe. But I'm not going to do some tokens and config now. Not really important. So all we do essentially is cloning an open source repo that we have on GitHub, which we would love people to contribute to if people have some ideas on what we could extend it with. But it's the baseline of an e-commerce, like the bare minimum that you need to get started. We don't want to impose a lot of things in the boilerplate, because this is only made so that you can custom tailor anything. So it doesn't make sense that we drive you in a certain direction at all. So we try to make it as neutral and minimal as possible, but still retaining performance. So I can go to my e-commerce now, and if I run yarn dev, I'm using yarn. You can also run npm run dev if you're running npm. So this just boots up a Next.js application, and yeah, here we go. So now I can go localhost. Instead, it should provide the same screen as we're looking at right now. So don't expect, oh, the price will be different, I guess, for the lounge chair. There we go. So obviously, this is the starting point. So if you look at the code, I could just do Visual Studio Code to open this guy up. And we can see how it looks. So it's a typical Next.js setup. So if I wanted to change something, I made a small thing like half an hour ago. I thought it would be fun to add support for dark color schema. Not many web e-commerces does this, but it's fun to do anyways. You can you can customize anything here as you would like. So if I enable a media query to respect the color schema query, then let's see, where is the guy? A lot of things. There we go. There you go. Oh, now it's dark. Of course, you would do more than this, but this is just showcases what you can do. Yeah. So this is your starting point, and from here you will go on and tailor make everything for yourself. It is a lot of slower locally than it is if you want to run it as a completely rebuilt site, published site. But that's also the whole point of this. So your local dev experience is going to be slower, but that's okay. Same functions will apply. So in terms of how Next.js works, we talked about serving an HTML and JSON file. But do you want to talk a bit about how that sort of transitions into a single page application, Luis, and why that is good?
Yeah. So in the case of Next.js, we always build like every page independent, meaning we always ship the required code for that page only. Like the page that you're seeing right now, we only send you the code for this page, and then in the background we start fetching new pages that might be related to this one based on links. So, for example, you can here you can go to like stories, magazine, about, and go to one of the product pages. And those transitions are also going to be very fast because we start prefetching those pages as soon as they come into your viewport.
So that
way, this really
just to, because I know this was a thing in the past, but I know it was removed, or it's about, so when Next.js boots up this single page application mode, it's gonna run some JavaScript to detect the current links on my page, right? And then preload the resources and the assets needed for that page. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when the customer is sort of looking at your categories here, electronics, chair storage, tables, what happens is that in the background, Next.js is pulling the assets and resources needed for those pages. So when they click something, the transition is immediate.
Yeah. So usual SPA applications like the ones created by Create React App, they cannot do something similar, but it's pretty different because they just ship you all the JS required for that page for the entire application or for a specific page.
Yeah.
So you have to wait for all that JS to come in and to execute. In the case of Next.js, we do most of the work in the background.
Yeah. I really like that. I really like that. So the client who visits this shop is just, you know, gonna get delivered exactly what they want in a initial load, and then later on in time, you're gonna sort of, you know, lazily load in the code needed for other pages, and it's gonna make an estimated guess on which pages you're about to visit. And this is something that's happened, you know, inside of Next.js. I'm not doing anything on my side, so this is how, you know, sort of kind of solved by the tooling, which I really like. So we can try to sort of see how that works in practice, Luis. If you want to test out performance, like what's your go-to tool, Luis?
Also, my go-to is opening the DevTools and then using Lighthouse. That's like my first thing to do. You can also check the network tab to see how is your page loading.
Yeah, we could start by Lighthouse, and we can do a performance-only report, I guess. We can do the front page because that's loaded with images. And I don't remember if I set up the boilerplate to lazy load images. I guess we will find out. It's not too bad. It could be better though. Would be cool to have 100 here. Yeah, so this will give you exactly the benefits of JAMstack. I guess in the past audit, stuff like this guy. Server response time low, 20 milliseconds. So why is this? Well, I guess we did iterate on this, why it's important, but it's not only because clients like fast websites. There are other things out there that like fast websites too. Isn't that right, Stavros?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry about that. I was answering a question real fast. You caught me off guard here. That was terrible, I know. But I had to answer a question real quick.
Well, that's fine.
Regarding, so would you mind repeating? I totally lost you there.
No, but I think I can answer my own question.
Yeah, go. It was yeah.
That's fine. So obviously, performance is important for customers, but it's also important for ranking in Google
for sure.
and Bing and all these other guys as well. Performance is one of the key metrics when you want to rank one website on a long list of other competing websites. So if your performance is good, there's a good chance that you will move up your rankings rather than down.
Yeah, more like generating organic traffic rather than paying for like whatever advertisement you may be using now or used to.
True, yeah. And if you have truly organic traffic coming into your websites, those customers are, you know, truly the best because they are looking for something. Yeah, something specific. They find you, so they go in with the mindset that, hey, you can solve my problem.
Exactly.
You can, you know, I can get the thing that I want with you. So that's truly the best kind of customers to get. But also a lot of people in the industry use page speed insights. Insights, I guess this guy, I've done it before. There we go. It's essentially running Lighthouse, but you know, on the web, so it's easier to share this with managers or whoever else is out there who doesn't know how to open DevTools or not using Chrome. So it's just running the same kind of tests, same kind of audits on your page. Yeah. So we could also talk a bit about Core Web Vitals that came out last week.
That would be great. Give some insight there.
Yeah, to sort of finish this thing off, and then I guess we could answer some more questions in the end.
Yep.
But in order to sort of make everything a bit more easier for developers to make some good, you know, KPIs to define, you know, what kind of threshold should we be at for a certain metric. In Lighthouse, they introduced Core Web files. I guess it's on web dev. Oh, maybe I should click this guy. There we go. So essentially, it's the they're introducing a new way of auditing performance, where they are introducing new metrics, and one of the biggest ones are cumulative layout shift, which will tell you how much your layout moves and jumps while the page loads. Something that they haven't been tracking in the past, but something that is important to users. So this will come in pretty soon, and it will affect your performance score a lot, probably. We've done some tests now with the beta version of the new Lighthouse, and it does affect performance scores for almost any website that we see. So there's a big difference between Lighthouse 5 and 6. And this is important for an e-commerce, even on a JAMstack setup, because a lot of the performance hits that you're going to get is on after the client has received the HTML. It's how you do font rendering, or font loading and also rendering, how you load your assets, how you set up and structure your HTML. And there's a lot of things that goes into this. Yeah.
Awesome. I get a question here, or a request, let's say, per se. Like an iteration or a change in the grid, basically, since we're using a grid for a front page, and we're tracking back a little bit in the more like the boilerplate.
Yeah,
but we get say a request of showing basically how the whole grid idea could work for a front page. So should we showcase maybe in the PIM how we can create a grid and having that drag and dropping a few things around?
Yeah, we've been diving into performance and tech stuff a bit. So let's move back and yeah. So
it's a little, I know it's a little bit, but yeah,
it's fine. And this is performance and stuff like that is important, sure, but also, if we're using a product that doesn't allow you to be flexible in terms of layout and it doesn't matter. You need to have both. So for the front page of this site,
it's a performance product, and a flexible product should be flexible speakers when they present it, right?
Can I say something there before we switch out of performance?
Yeah.
So Next.js, we're working alongside the Chrome team. The Chrome team in charge of making the web faster. So for that, we have some performance timings for the network tab that you can see there. Also, they also appear in the Lighthouse. So this performance go for how long does the Next.js iteration take, and how long is the first contentful page out of these other metrics. We also shipped in the last release support for Core Web Vitals, meaning you can track these metrics inside your app and send those to some other tools, and so that way you can measure the performance that your users are getting. And to finalize, performance is very important, but we also have a focus on what is performance and developer experience. So we want you to have the fastest website, but while also allowing you to not worry about it and keep making just React code and React components.
Yeah, this is the thing I love about it. Next.js is it enables you by default to be fast. I read somewhere that that was the whole the mantra inside of Vercel was you want the developers to sort of fall into the pit of success, and this is exactly that. So by default, it's fast.
We want you to build your app and don't worry about anything, and it's going to be the best app possible always.
Yeah, I love that.
Great tool, yeah, indeed.
Okay, okay, cool. So let's dive a bit into how you would let's say that you wanted to change this front page a bit. So let's go back to let's go back to the PIM. I'm just gonna go open the tab here. So on your tenant in Crystallize, you can do a lot of things. So your catalog is sort of your main backbone of your application, and we're pulling data for the front page from this folder specifically, and there's a grid that we're using to render the stuff that you can see. And the grid is just, you know, structured like this, not really a fancy scenario. We could change it and modify it a bit, although it's been a while since I've been playing with this thing. How do I do that again, Stavros? Something like
exactly.
add columns, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So now I can merge to sort of make things a bit more different. Okay.
Great.
Oh wait.
So it's more like an array, right? So you just add rows and columns. And
oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, merge it.
If I wanted to, I want to show a table. Oh, we don't have tables, like a sofa. Okay, yeah. So I want a sofa. Maybe I want a chair here. Okay, yeah, that's how I do it. Sofa there. Okay, cool. So now I sort of changed the layout of the front page. So using incremental static builds, the initial load is going to be the same. We gave it a few seconds to rebuild. Not sure how long. Let's see. Oh, it's done now. Hey. Fantastic.
Exactly.
So that's still fast.
Caching is cheating.
Caching is, this is not cache, it's just, you know, CDN. And also, I guess, if I wanted a different kind of grid for my front page, I could do that too. I could do the magazine one. Go back to my catalog. I just sort of, I don't take that one. I take this other grid, this guy instead. So totally changing the front page altogether. Not sure how that would look. See, here we go. Oh, okay, yeah, that looks fine too. So this is just showcasing some of those features in Crystallize. So you can have grids, which are essentially just like a simple matrix, where you, instead of having a tree representation of your products with and items, which is a typical thing for products like this, you can represent the thing as a matrix instead. Really, really simple, but really powerful still. And because it's so simple, it's sort of hard to do a mistake. And for everything like this in Crystallize, you need to be confident enough using GraphQL, because that's the thing you need to use to query the data. But what you get back is essentially a really structured data structure, something that front-end developers love, right? So it's easy to do, easy to consume this on a React application. I could also showcase a few more other things. You could also have topics to relate products together. So not a lot of systems like this have this kind of feature, but where you can make a relation between items that are on we call it topic, some call it tags. You would typically make this for grouping the types of products like we have here: interior, furniture, plants, whatever. You could do it for color schema. It's really up to you and how you can sort of make that information architecture. So in Crystallize as well, we're completely event driven, and everything that happens here is something that you can subscribe to. So Luis, when you talked about that you will soon launch a way to trigger rebuild of a Vercel application, webhooks in Crystallize is the typical place where you would do that. So you would typically add a webhook for every time a product or something is published, you would post to or put or whatever to a certain Vercel URL, I don't know, with a payload, and then that would trigger a rebuild of a specific URL. Something like that.
Yep, that's actually how the preview mode works. It would be something very similar.
Yep.
In the case of preview mode, you have like a content that you don't want to release yet. So you call an API endpoint in the Next.js side, and then you go to the live version of your page, but with the new content, and only you can see it. So you can preview how it will look like.
Yeah, so the preview function of Vercel is really cool, or Next. And we don't really have a way to preview stuff in Crystallize yet, but we will. And that will enable us to do exactly that, which is really, truly cool. So what else do you think, Stavros? Should we look at other things here, or is it fine for now? We could obviously talk about Crystallize for hours, but I
mean, it's a huge topic, but we can leave it for another day.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. So I'm not sure if Luis has anything basically would like to add here. But I'm totally covered. I actually understood a few topics, you know.
Good.
Which is always great.
I would say the example looks great. It is very well done. It is definitely awesome. And if you want to know more about Next.js, go to the website, next.js.org. It is completely open source. All the features we talked about today are open source. You're welcome to contribute, create issues, and join the community on GitHub. Yeah, that's it for me.
Cool. Yeah, I guess the same goes for Crystallize as well. All our supporting products are open sourced. So that means we have a few NPM packages open sourced. The Gatsby boilerplate and Next.js boilerplate are open source. So we welcome any contributors to that. We're planning to launch a series of other boilerplates, like an app boilerplate or mini app boilerplates, in-store boilerplates, as well as, well, there's a whole bunch of things you can build on top of Crystallize. So we will add on top of what we have already. But thank you for joining, Luis. It was fun to talk.
Oh, thanks to you, really. Very amazing example. Thank you.
I know we put you in a bit of trouble since you had to wake up quite early for us.
No problem.
Yeah, I know. It's fine. You can say it.
I'm getting used to.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
I do live far away. That's my fault.
You can say that way. Sure. It's fine by us. So yeah, thank you guys for taking the time, Håkon and Luis. Guys, if you need to ask anything, you can reach out to us anytime. Both me, Håkon, and Luis, not both, but all three of us, regarding questions on Vercel and Next.js. As Luis said, it's a huge community that you should be checking out for sure. So be sure to stay tuned. We'll be doing or be having more events like this in the future. So looking forward to have you join us in these as well. Thanks again. Thank you guys. Håkon, Luis.
You're welcome.
Tusen takk. Muchas gracias.
Ingen årsak.
So yeah, and see you guys in the next one, hopefully.
Yep.
Thank you. See ya.
Yeah.
Have a great day. Have a great day, Luis.
Bye.
Bye, Håkon.
Bye-bye.
And now let's stop this. So yeah, and see you guys in the next one, hopefully.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you. See ya.
Yeah. So
have a great day. Have a great day, Luis.
Bye,
Håkon.
Bye-bye.
I assume it's stopped by now?
Yes.